Hello, this is Kurtalini Yoga, Lesson 1. Um, so it's similar to Kundalini Yoga, except it's something I came up with, so we're calling it Kurtalini Yoga. I don't really know anything about Kundalini Yoga other than it's like some crap to do with like energy in the spine or something like that, and then whatever. This is called Kurtalini Yoga because it also just has to do with the spine and energy and whatever. So the first thing that we're going to do is at the sacrum, find the full range of motion that you can move your awareness past the sacrum, or to move your sacrum through the awareness. So let the rest of the body do whatever else. Make sure that you have a continuous sensation of the area, 3 dimensions. It doesn't necessarily have to be a structure, it can just be a presence. And then as that presence down by the sacrum, you can rotate the presence, and then because it's rotating, you feel the awareness of that rotation, which is the friction with the space that's not rotating. So there's a part of your awareness that is not rotating, there's a part of your awareness that is rotating, and the friction between them is very similar to your hand in a current of water, or sticking your hand out the window, or just like this. You can kind of feel the movement. The reason that you feel the movement is because of the field of awareness around it. So at the sacrum, you rotate, so you're looking at the field of awareness. The body is probably going to rotate as well because the body is continuous with the field of awareness, but the field of awareness is more than the body. And they are linked together. So the body is, as the field of awareness moves, the body will move as well. And just kind of let it, because the body kind of determines the range of your field of awareness. So your field of awareness can move until it starts to leave the body, and then it gets stuck because the body's stuck, right? So you start at the sacrum. And I'm maintaining continuous flow past or around or however I'm doing it, and then it goes far enough that, oh, I can't go any further. I can continue swirling my field of awareness, but I can't, I'm kind of stuck. So then I can start to swing the field of awareness back. And since this is directed at the sacrum, what you're noticing here is, well, what kind of field of awareness does my sacrum project, or is my sacrum associated with? And you'll find that that's kind of variable. So then try and go up the spine, starting at the sacrum, and it's almost like pretend you're in water, that the sacrum and the spine is in water, and the whooshing or the current going past it is the thing that you're going for. Make sure it's continuous so you can feel the water going around the area the whole way, and find out what you have to do to maintain that as you rotate back and forth. And the ways you can do this are so numerous, it seems absurd to try and teach it. And so you can, at the sacrum or the lumbar, you'll notice that your field of awareness, you can kind of break it into segments. and where it's broken into segments, you can get a feeling of awareness crossing the top of that segment. So it can cross the top of the sacrum and then cross between the different vertebrae, each one. And if you don't have that segmented awareness, it feels more like a rod, like this, and there's not any sensation going through. And so that's what makes it, that's where it's frozen. The reason that you can do this is because of segmented awareness, where the awareness can run over the top and the bottom of the vertebrae. So you go through each part of the spine, you find out where you have segmented awareness, and you can find vertebrae where you don't have the segmented awareness and it'll move like that. So you try and move in a way that you get fluid between the vertebrae into the disc area. And when I'm talking with vertebrae and discs and a spine, I'm using anatomical things to kind of point in the direction of a field of awareness associated with that, mirroring that. So it is segments, but what you're looking for is, like, it's almost like there's an object moving through water. The object might have a particular shape, but its drag pattern, while maybe totally reflecting the shape, it's just going to be kind of a diffuse thing of eddies or something. So sometimes it takes discipline to stick to the isolations and go up the scale, because you start to want to do like a little bit more and get crazy. But the isolations are useful, so I'll go back to it. I'll just be at my lumbar. So I'm just seeing how I can make continuous awareness around that segment. So part of that is mental. Like if I'm over there, I don't feel any of it. It goes away. But a lot of it is definitely sensation presented by the area. Like it's its own thing, not just your imagination. And so it's good to isolate, but maybe also notice that this same thing is flowing around your your bones. So your awareness has a nested shell toward at its core. That's it and not something else as the awareness goes through it. But as you get out into these other layers, like the musculature, as you move, the soft tissue is permeable to the awareness that is flowing around the harder parts of you. The softer parts of you, it can actually flow into. So as you move, you'll notice that it's flowing into the organs, into the muscular tissue. You don't really have to force that yet, but you can just notice that that's happening. So as you go back and forth, like if you want to start to use the QL, for instance, open it to the movement. And so, in terms of all the fields that are happening right now, of like what allows you and then a particular part of your body to go through space, there's a lot going on there. So, just a repetitive act of either breathing or like any sort of swimming for me helps if you don't have enough focus. And so that same you moving through space, you running through space, is moving through the field that gives you inertia and mass. So if you feel that kind of permeating the body, it's a very deep sort of breathing. It's not any different than you get with like proper exercise, but if you can choose to do it, there's something very like peaceful about it. Um, so you can use that movement to try and feel an awareness of the spinal cord, like inside the vertebrae. So I'll just go to my neck, same thing we started with. mostly just going isolating here. Very stuck. And so then if you can wire all the segments up or like get them to start existing from the movement, then wire the pressure from the hands into all of the different segments. And so the awareness between all the segments is single awareness. So if you can get between or inside of the vertebrae or the back muscles, that's what integrates them into the movement pattern. It's like the whole swimming pool is there. All the water participates. The degree to which you get in between things, because that's what the water is between them. And the water is one continuous body. So it's like the functional kinetic chain, the one that's healthy to move from, not the one with 10 gazillion parts that nobody actually comprehends and it's all bullshit. The comprehensible kinetic chain is just the water. It's the only one that you can work with in a comprehensible way. Otherwise, in terms of like trying to figure out like, oh, muscle contractions and integrity structures and fractal DNA antennas and all that stuff, it's not fun. It's impossibly complex. Nobody understands it. But the water is most of the system, and so the way to get access to that water is to go between. And so that's kind of what the point of Kurtalini yoga is finding and accessing that between space, which is also the surrounding space, the enveloping space, and movement ways or ways to like pressurize and to push that space into the areas of the body where it's supposed to be. But ultimately, it's hard. You can't really push it or tell it what to do. So you can learn to just open it and to breathe. And if things have stopped breathing, you can come up with little games like moving the spine or doing something that uses it just to get the attention back there again. Since it's not breathing, if you move it, it can kind of CPR the breath. Is like that's kind of what's going on with the rehab stuff in general. It's like something has lost its breath, and so you kind of have to flow the water over it until it goes into it again. And then that degree and level of saturation is like the different talent levels and ages. And so, knees over toes dude, AGT split squat guy, likes these things. So you can incorporate that same, how do you swim, right here with the hips and the pelvis through the field of awareness. What's the field of awareness right there? Going out to the thighs. And knowing that you're in one field of awareness. Use the movement to keep the attention in the area, maybe pressurize it a little bit, but mostly just actually staying really focused there as if it's important. Make it important somehow. And just move the field of awareness past this area, so the water spirals around it, eddies off of it. It's doing all sorts of things like that. It's like you need to feel it, but it's behaving exactly as you would expect something moving through water, or the water moving around it. So that drag profile is almost identical to what you're sort of looking for when you're trying to feel your life force. And so you're not really trying to wake anything up or access a Kundalini or a Kurtalini experience or energies or force. You just kind of know it is this way. It just sort of is this way, which is kind of cool. So I can start to connect it all the way down my leg bones. And then the lateral space at the knees, similar to all the lateral spaces between the vertebrae, all one field. Lateral spaces at the hip joint where the awareness can go inside of, at least more than it can the bones between. So all of those lateral spaces are permeated with the same fluid, same body of water. So the goal being to keep all the lateral spaces connected. No matter what the movement or posture that you're in, can you be aware of all the lateral spaces, all the between spaces? And then even between spaces of like the water in the flesh. It's like the water between the bones is one thing, but then the water goes into the flesh. So through it. So the between space of the joints is going through the flesh, which is like what's enlivening it at any point. So the same thing that gives range of motion is the same thing that gives vitality. So there's a ton of between space up here. Right? If you lose the between space in the brain, it just gets very simplistic, which is different from the simplicity of like just relaxing and having one space versus dulling versus like contracting and overfolding and over complexifying. But there's definitely between space in the brain. There's between spaces like between the descending nerves in the spine. There's of course between spaces in the blood vessels and the lymph. And then definitely the abdominal cavity. And so that's very mysteriously supporting, surrounding, enveloping, and determining the shape of all things in the body, but it's like not something you would ever find in the body, like the water. But it's very obvious just from looking at people. So this is just isolating the legs, similar to what I did with the sacrum. So moving the leg through, or moving the field of awareness around or past the leg. And then and it should be fairly obvious what to do after that, I think. Yeah.